a minute. Like, I'm sure I was not missed. And if I wasn't missed, don't tell me about it because I'm in a very vulnerable place right now. You see, since the last time I was here, I got sick. And then I got unsick, but then I got sick again because my friends have children and they carry every illness known to man. But then I got unsick, which was great. And then I got sick again. And then again, and again, and again, and again. And then suddenly it was Thanksgiving. But then I went and I stole a whole bunch of books from my grandma. Consensually. It was her idea, but it's funnier to say stole. So that was cool. And then I wrote a script about all of those books because they were really cool and interesting. And then I recorded a video, but it was unusable because I was, at the time, sick. And then Christmas happened. And then the New Year happened, and I recorded it 2 more times. The first time, the camera was so washed out that the footage was unusable. And the time after that, I wore a little spinny ring that was just jangling the entire time. So that was also unusable. So I've just given up because it's January now. And I got to move on. So this is my TBR. And we're doing that. And I was going to do that like 3 weeks ago. But then the lease renewals came out. So that was neat. Dealing with that stress. Then my cats decided they needed to have a bout of aggression. Redirected aggression, as it were, because somebody else's cat came and pissed on my patio. And so I'm barely hanging on by a thread and going on about 3 hours of sleep this entire past week. And then got the cats to the vet. Everything was fine. I got them drugs to make them happy, or at least calm them down so that they can be happy again instead of scared. And then I went to the grocery store and I got rear-ended. So when I say holding on by a thread, I mean the thread is gone. The thread is broken. I'm not hanging on by anything at this point in time. So I need you guys to be chill while we do this messy, stupid video. Okay? Cool. Thanks. Welcome to my TBR. Like I said, I'm so stressed. I'm simply having a fucking time. Okay? So, what we're going to do is go through this horrible thing that I have made. And the, for some reason, 42 books that I decided to put on my TBR for the year. We'll see how many of those get finished. But in doing that, I was like, you know what? Let's kill a couple of birds with some stones, you know? And then I also decided to make some chimeras to make my friends fight at D&D nights. Unfortunately, that does mean I have to come up with stats and things for them to do. But we did it. So let me tell you how I built this monstrosity, okay? I hit the microphone because I'm not good at this and it's in a different spot. There's 5 books that I either started reading or I just want to like guarantee that I read. So we need to start with The Elephant in the Room. There's no elephant. I decided each of these chimeras, there's 5, like I said, that each of the wings was going to be just non-negotiable. It was going to be this species of animal, wings, in this book. Not species. What is the broader, you know, reptile, mammal, bird, all of those things. But I put it with wings. There's like 2 mammals with wings. Do you know how many reptiles there are with wings? I don't even think technically that dinosaurs count as reptiles. Is a dragon technically a reptile? I don't know. I don't know, man. This was stupid. I obviously should have done tails. That makes so much sense. I realized that I should have done tails the first time I finished constructing this board, but it was on a white background, so it just absolutely destroyed the lighting in the video at the time. So the wings are going to be absolutely fucking janky. But I made this bed, and now I'm going to make a video about it. So, randomized, stupid chimeras creating a very long list of books. The way chimeras are constructed is a hodgepodge of animal bits and pieces. 3, sometimes 4 heads, a big old lion body, wings, and a tail that does stuff. Okay? That breaks down into 5 distinct categories. And of those 5 distinct categories, I came up with categories of books. So, the heads. That was associated with the list of books that were already on my TBR or that were recently put on my TBR because they're like new releases and shit. So, it's the longest list of books that I have, basically. Then we have the body. The body is associated with the list of books that I stole from my grandma. As I said I did at Thanksgiving. I was going to make a video about all of them because I found some really cool shit in there. But at this point, the script is like 2 fucking months old. Almost 3 months old. It's basically like 3 months. It's whatever. I'm not thinking about time because time doesn't exist. And if it did exist, it didn't make any sense. So, books I stole specifically from my grandma. There were some cool books. One of them I'm unsure about. I'll talk about that at a later date when I read it. We'll get there. Then we have legs. These were books that not necessarily on my TBR, or if they were on my TBR, I just wanted to choose a smaller dice number to roll. Oh, I got to go back and tell you about the dice. Smaller dice number to roll in order to sort of more guarantee that I would actually roll them and get to read them because I really wanted to read them. Or sometimes it was just a weird book that I found. And we have tales. Those are associated with a list of a very staggeringly short list because Instagram decided to lie to me about who replied to my story question thing. It only told me one person, but apparently like 3 or 4 people actually did. It just didn't save it in my notifications or my archive. I don't fucking know. There's a reason I hate Instagram. So those were recommendations. And as I said, the wings. Those are the books that I wanted to guarantee I would be reading this year for whatever reason. So with the heads, because it's the longest list, that is a list of 20 various animal heads to choose from and 20 books to choose from. So I would roll 3 d20s because a chimera has 3 heads, sometimes 4. Once again, if the snake tail has a head on it. Doesn't always. Kind of depends. The body. That was a D12. I chose 12 books of the, I had more books from my grandma than 12, but a lot of them were in a contained series. Legs. So that's a 1D12. Legs and or arms. You probably can't see this very well. I'm going to zoom in with those spliced in shit that I've already recorded. And or arms. There are some bipedal creatures on here because I thought it would be funny. And I was right. Tail. D4. No, wait. Legs and or arms. That's a D10. So there was 10 books from my various shelves. Tails. It's a 4. I rolled the first one. It is not a D4. It is a D6. And some of those weren't necessarily explicitly recommendations, but they were books I had talked about very recently with friends and decided to put as a recommendation on the list. Some of them were legitimate. some of them not. That's beside the point. Like, as you can see, they're there. That is the book that has been on my TBR and my shelves for quite a while. And a friend and I talked about it very recently, and I was like, I'm just going to like shoehorn in that as your recommendation just to guarantee I can read it. Well, guarantee that I have to read it. That's better. Wings. I rolled a d4 to choose like what kind of bird, but the book that I chose was already there. So I decided in constructing this that fuck it, I am going to pretend like I rolled there and just shoehorned an extra book on the end. And I chose very specifically from the books that I didn't roll initially. So there we are. Now, you're probably wondering what I did about repeated numbers, repeated dice rolls. Well, I picked from, that probably sounds awful. I don't like ASMR, so I'm sure that's great. But there's things in my little fedora here. That's basically what I did. Some of them are just go find something off of the library new releases or library nonfiction new releases. And some of them are like, listen, I finally picked up Tiny Bookshop. And so many fucking characters in there want fucking pop science. It's insane. I put pop science in here. Yes, I did pull it, and I do regret it so much. It was funny at the time. It's not funny for me now. In any case, so these ones here and there pulled from a hat. First, the bird chimera. Bird-winged chimera. Stupid. So first roll was a 6. I rolled sheep. So that is going to have a like bighorn ram attack. So that's going to be fun and cool. I rolled a 10. Eagle. Keen sight. Keen senses. You won't be able to hide from this motherfucker at all. It can find you. 12. Whilf. Bite attack, obviously, but it also has pack tactics. So if I wanted to throw 2 chimeras into a fight, and you're gonna die. Body. 7. Turtle. Turtle, indestructible. That is a 20 AC right there. That is going to be so hard to actually damage. I'm also considering how funny it would be to make players call the shot of which head they're actually going to attack and give it a retractable head. One at a time, though, because I think it's funny. Legs and or arms. I rolled a 5, and I got giraffe. So this is a turtle with giraffe legs, wolf, eagle, sheep head. Remember that. We're keeping track. 50 foot per round, running speed. Also, kick attack. Have you seen giraffes fighting? Jesus Christ. I really should have included giraffe head as one of the options to roll for, and I didn't. And I don't know why, because it would have been funnier. In any case, 4. Beaver tail. This is great. This is good. You can attack with the beaver tail. You can also give this creature advantage against wooden weapons or, tree creatures. That's fun. Do I have any of those in my party? No, but I might one day. Wings. I rolled a 4, which means I got falcon wings. So this motherfucker can do a dive attack. Have you seen falcons dive? Awesome. I love raptors. Fantastic birds. Also, 120 foot flying speed. Because those fuckers are so fast. That'll kill you. Let's move on to the Reptimera. So you can tell I had fun and was also extremely high when I drew all of these. So it's got a human head, because I rolled a 1 there. It's got a human head, and very specifically, that is Julia Drawfee Bobby Hill, because it's funnier that way. So this creature can speak languages. It has an intelligence bonus, also intimidation and charm. Imagine this horrid creature talking to you, threatening you, naming you. This thing is intelligent. It can't just find your family, but it can ask the neighbors where they live. You're fucking dead. 14. Cow. Gore attack with the horns. Although, might have to change that because I did say cow and not bull. Not all cows have horns. That's typically a thing. 15. Owl. Much like the eagle. Keen sight. Keen senses. Can find the fuck out of you. It's stupid as hell to make up for the human head. So I'm gonna figure out how that works, or if it just, the intelligence equals out. Because as we know, owls are the stupidest bird. Just straight up and down. Absolutely stupid. But big eyes. Patience. Very high perception. You think you're going to be able to stealth? Fuck no, you're not. Fuck no, you're not. I also rolled a 10 for the body, so it has an owl body. That kind of sucks, thematically speaking, but to have a giant owl, but with 2 weird heads on the side, hilarious. But that body, that's going to give you stealth. That's going to give you camouflage. That thing, not only will you not be able to hide from it, but it will be able to very well hide from you. You're not going to fucking know it. You're not going to see it. It's just going to be there, and then it's going to kill you. Great, horrible creature. I rolled an 8 on legs and or arms. It's got horse legs, and you can't see it very well here, but you can see it in the little image I superimposed. It is, of course, a Jacob Drawfee horse, because it's funnier that way. Jacob Drawfee horse gets you 60-foot running speed, because they are a little bit faster than giraffes. Giraffes got the gangly element, throws them off. But horses also have hoof attacks. They're just a little bit different than the giraffe hoof attacks. So that is also fun. For tail, I rolled a 6. No, I rolled a 4, so I had to roll again. And then I rolled a 6. And we got a possum. That has a prehensile tail. It can hang from trees. It can probably pick locks if it felt like it, because I'm funny and I like that. But because this doesn't have a dragon head, can't breathe fire. So I'm just throwing in extra shit that I think is fun. And in this instance, it is feign death. Possums, very good. Possums, very good at pretending to be dead. As we all know. It's just now that they get access, basically, to the feign death spell. And you won't be able to tell that it's still alive until it gets up right behind you when you're not looking. And then you're dead. Wings was also a roll again. I rolled a 4. And I rolled this thing that says there are no other unique flying reptiles. Roll again. And then I rolled 2. Quetzalcoatlus. You know, the great big scary looking pterosaur. Is it pterodactyl or pterosaur? Because if I remember right, it's a slight difference in the way that the bottom portion of the wings attach, because the Quetzalcoatlus, it attaches to the feet rather than to the body. Because I'm pretty sure pterodactyls attach to the body. I don't remember the difference. It changes slightly the flying speed and maneuverability. 90-foot flying speed gets a fly by, and a dive attack. Both of those are scary. It also gets those weird fucking wings that attach to the legs. Like I said, so it is An owl with an owl head and then a human and a cow head on either side of it, which has to say something about capitalism, I'm pretty sure. With horse legs, but the horse legs have big, fleshy, horrible Quetzalcoatlus wings attached to them, but also a possum tail. So it can fly really high and really well, but it also can hang upside down from a tree. The bug-winged chimera. Rolled a 14. Had to roll again, so I rolled an 11. And we got elk. That gets an antler gore attack. Next, rolled a 17 for rhino. Gore attack, like I said. Also rolled an 18 for pug. You get sonic bark attacks because, once again, no fire on this one because no dragon head. But it can charm the shit out of you. Pugs are so ugly that they're adorable. They got those big fucking eyes. Turn those on you. You get disadvantage on attacks because it's so damn cute. Cute enough to distract you from the horrors happening alongside of it. Body. I rolled a 10. Orca. So this is an aquatic creature. An aquatic orca with a elk, rhino, and pug head. So just think about that monstrosity for a minute and hold that in your heart. But it's also, once again, don't have fire breath, so it gets echolocation. Hold its breath for a shit long time. Also, 60-foot swim speed. It can go on land with its crab legs. So it gets obviously claw attack. So it's an orca with claws, horrible heads, horns that gore you, and a pug face. It also gets a skunk tail. So when it's on land, poison cloud, you're fucked. Also gets butterfly wings. Not great in water. Not great at all. But I'm going to stick to it. But they can mesmerize you and enchant you, distract you. Just loosen those inhibitions. Feel the rain on your skin. Fish-winged chimera. Fish don't have wings. And of the ones that I rolled, I did roll the stupidest one and the most useless. I was kind of hoping for a flying squid just because I would attach the bell to it because it would be fucking funny. A flying creature with a squid bell? Hilarious. So, but that also means that because it has fish wings, it is also an aquatic creature. But we'll get there. I rolled a 10, which means I roll again. And in this case, I rolled a 5, which means it's a dragon. I have been watching so many Drawfee clip compilations lately that like all of the things that were already in my head are just like coming out. And I just keep saying, like every time I'm just like, it's a dragon, every fucking time. I don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! I never watched. I didn't particularly like the animation style. Sue me. Or read it. I did forget. Yeah, it also, yeah. Don't talk to me. Obviously, I don't know jack shit about anime. It's fine. But it's a dragon. It's got the usual chimera stats, bite attack, fire breath. I did not specify what kind of dragon. Now this is interesting. This means, now what if it was a white dragon? Now what if it was a white dragon? A white aquatic dragon, as I said. That means it gets ice breath. It's already underwater, and if you're underwater too, you're fucked. Oh. Yeah, no, that's going to be an ice dragon. That's fun. I like that. That's good. I'm glad I stood here a second and considered it. Rolled a 16 for the next head, which is, of course, a Triceratops. Then you get the gore attack, because this is a Triceratops, which is basically a rhino, but like with a Victorian collar. And 20, unicorn. So this is the stupidest and yet most overpowered, because you've got the dragon with ice breath. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while because I really like that, actually. Also, Jacob Drawfee horse, unicorn. We disrespect my man, Jacob Drawfee, which of course gets some magical resistance, horn attack, teleport. Did you forget that in D&D, unicorns can teleport once a fucking day? It doesn't even need to fly. It can just teleport. Oh, fuck. Also gets heal self. You can't poison it either. It's got the fucking horn. It can purify anything. Beautiful. Majestic. Horrible. The body, I rolled a 1, which I didn't say I don't think, but I did roll for the owl up there. So I did have to roll again, in which case I rolled a corgi. So not only does it have 2 of the most powerful heads on this board, but you get disadvantage on attack rolls, because this little fucker can charm the pants off of you. Imagine a unicorn wiggling like a fucking corgi. That's adorable. Charm check. This is so loud, but I'm married to it at this point, you know? Yeah. Also, keen smell, because dog lungs are there. Breath, you know? There was a method to the madness. Might have to take that one off so it's not just so wildly overpowered. But legs and or arms, raccoon, of course, rolled a 6. So not only is it bipedal if it wants to be, also underwater if it wants to be. Sleight of hand, it can pick locks. It can grab things. It can claw the fuck out of you. Tail, peacock. It does basically nothing, but I'm treating it kind of like butterfly wings. It can mesmerize you, enchant, distract you. That's about it. I rolled a 2, which is the worst one to roll for the fish wings, so it got flying gunnard wings. Flying gunnards don't fly. They in fact have no flying speed. It just is able to teleport, but no flying speed whatsoever, because basically the flying gunnard wings don't do anything. They're there. It looks like it's walking across the floor. It doesn't need it to walk across the ocean floor. It doesn't need it for anything. It is, if anything, an intimidation tactic. So it gets advantage on intimidation. And last, and most certainly least, we have the mammal mara. This one was stupid. And also, once again, just a reminder, should have done tails instead of wings, but here we the fuck are. Rolled a 7. A throg, which gets a tongue bludgeon attack, but also gets a grapple attack, a pull attack. You cannot escape this. Rolled a 9. Possum head. It can scream. I don't know that it does anything. I just really like possums, and possums can scream a lot. And it's very funny, and I enjoy them. Bite attack. Obviously, get those tiny, pointy little teeth. You're dead. Also, that's where its intelligence is. That's where the feigned death also is. Last one. Rolled a 15. Roll again. Rolled a 4. Snick. Bite attack. Venom attack. So on the body, we roll a 6, which is jaguar. Spots. Dappled sunlight in the forest. That's camouflage. That's stealth. Slinky. Dangerous. Big lung capacity. You know. Scary. Legs and or arms. I rolled a 6. Reroll. This time I didn't reroll. This time I just went with the one that I thought was funniest. Human arms and legs. A jaguar that can be bipedal, but doesn't have to be. A jaguar with human arms and legs running on all fours at you. Try to escape. That's fucking horrifying. It's terrifying. Also, can use weapons if it wants to. It has sleight of hand if it wants to. This thing, unarmed strike if it wants to. This is basically a barbarian with 3 heads. You're fucked. You're absolutely fucked, my guy. Also, it gets spell casting. I forgot I put that on there just because I thought it was funny. Because it can do, like, any physical component. So that was fun. Tail, rolled a 3. Scorpion, sting attack, damage, poison, multiple rounds. You know how it is. You know what it is. Wings, I rolled a 1. But because this is mammal wings and only so many mammals have wings, I rolled a Pegasus. And a Pegasus is just a horse with bird wings, which means roll bird again. Hummingbird. So this thing can not only dive, do flybys, it can hover. It can just hover over you and attack you and sting you with that scorpion tail. Ya fucked. So, now we're going to begin to talk through the books. I'm kind of just going to go in order, tell you why it's on the list, where it came from, what category it's in, and a little bit about it, but we're going to try to go fast. And I know I've said that before and it didn't happen, but here we are. This is also 42 books, so if it's a long video, it doesn't matter, because obviously it was going to be, you know? First book is Wounded Knee by Heather Cox Richardson. This was a book I found at my grandma's on her shelf. So one thing I've been doing a lot of, and the reason we haven't had a Buffalo Hunter video yet, is because I like to research things so much. It's the process of researching. I really enjoy it, so I'm liable to go down rabbit holes for things. And especially in this instance where what I'm having to research is so terrible and awful and painful. I just want to handle it with respect, so I am just babying my script about it. But one of those things was that in accidentally researching the wrong person mentioned in the book, I spent a long time reading a lot about Wounded Knee, because Kansas, we learned that, yeah, it was probably America's fault. But then we move on and we don't learn anything else. And in this instance, Heather Cox Richardson is a professor at Boston University and a political historian and commentator. And she's brilliant and I trust her a lot. Sign up to her newsletter if you just would like to have a very level-headed person telling you about current political happenings. She's very interesting and smart. Like I said, I trust her a lot. I also just fully forgot she wrote actual legitimate books because I am stupid. So, like I said, political historian and commentator. So her book on Wounded Knee is not necessarily about the event itself. It's not about the massacre. It's the political machinations happening at the time that led to Wounded Knee happening. Sort of intentionally and unintentionally, though mostly intentionally. Let's be fucking for real about it. So it's the political landscape of the time that made this horrible fucking massacre happen. Next, we have The Land of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is a sequel to the Book of Lost Things, which had a really profound effect on me in middle school when I read it the first time. It is a book I think about a lot, and I recently found out it has a sequel. So, attached to this, it's kind of obviously more than 42 books. So, of course, now 43, because I will be reading the Book of Lost Things again before I read The Land of Lost Things. The Book of Lost Things was about a young boy named David who's trying to deal with the loss of his mother, his father remarrying, suddenly having a younger sibling that he never really wanted or thought he would have. It's a small child dealing alone with this tragedy and finding solace in these fairy tale books, in this fairy tale world, while also being in like wartime London. And the final lines of the book have stuck with me. I can still recite them to this day. Absolutely fucking destroys me because I love books about grief. So I'm going to read just a portion of the summary for The Land of Lost Things, which is: Saris reads fairy tales to her comatose daughter, losing hope. But the books have started calling to her, and the ruins of a house on the hospital grounds, and a book written by a mysterious missing author calling on her to make her journey into this fantastical world. So it is going to be interesting following this same structured journey as David in the first book, but from the point of view as a grieving and scared adult rather than a child. Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This has been on my list for a while. I don't remember who recommended it. I don't remember why it's on the list, but it's there. Royce Melbourne, a skilled thief, and his mercenary partner, Hadrian Blackwater, make a profitable living carrying out dangerous assignments for conspiring nobles until they are hired to pilfer a famed sword. What appears to just be a normal, simple job finds them framed for the murder of the king and trapped in a conspiracy that uncovers a plot far greater than the mere overthrow of a tiny kingdom. So, I don't know. Sounds like standard fantasy fare, but everyone I've seen says it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm here for it. Very much here for it. It has over 4 stars on Goodreads. Not that I really trust Goodreads, all things considered, but. Next we have A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, which is another fairly new addition to the regular old TBR. I think I've talked about it before. Ruthless Vows, or no, it's Divine Rivals and then Ruthless Vows. I put them out of order on my shelf on accident and I haven't fixed it yet. They are the pinnacle of romantasy for me because they're actually romantic. Actually romantic and beautiful, and there's so much love in those characters and they're so fucking sweet. And it's a harrowing, warring gods. It's cool. It's good. If you haven't read them, you fucking well should. A River Enchanted follows Jack Tamerlane, a summoned home to the enchanted magical Isle of Cadence after 10 years of studying music on the mainland. Young girls have started disappearing, and Adira, I'm going to say her name wrong forever, and I'm so sorry. Jack's childhood nemesis hopes that his skill with music can draw the Isle's spirits to them and persuade them to return the missing girls. So, I don't know. I don't care. It's Rebecca Ross, and this time it's adult fantasy, which is going to be really interesting. So I am really interested to see how her style, the things that she cares about and the things that she writes really well. I'm curious to see how that carries over into adult fiction versus young adult fiction, like I believe Divine Rivals is, which is, by the way, like I said, perfect. Divine Rivals. Next we have Daughter of Time by Josephine Tay. I don't remember her actual name. This was a book from my grandma. I have it down low, in a volume called 456, which is, it's not actually the last three because it's something Sands, which is not the fourth book. So they're slightly out of order, but it's like the second book and then the fifth and sixth of the Inspector Alan Grant detective series. And Josephine Tey sounds really fucking cool. She holds this like interesting spot at this like precipice, like this turn between golden age detective mystery novels and what would become more modern and contemporary. So handling of different, more taboo themes, queer characters, maybe still just implied because this was written in like what, 1950 or published in 1950. So, this is a book I knew about a little bit, though I wouldn't have been able to tell you what its name was, who wrote it, anything about it, but the storyline, I know. So I am like predisposed to be into it. So it's Inspector Alan Grant in the hospital, I think with like a broken leg and just bored out of his mind. And a friend of his brings him a historical case to study and try to solve. And the one that he focuses on is the Princes in the Tower. So the princes of the one that Richard III killed. So it essentially serves as a revisionist history, sort of a re-examination of who Richard III actually was, whether or not he committed this crime, sort of, or whether all we know about him currently is just Tudor propaganda. So that's going to be really interesting. Really into that. Going to be cool. Also, another thing. Listen, I also want to bring something up. Amazon, what is this? What is this? Why? Josephine Tey wrote these books in the fucking 50s, possibly the 40s and 30s. What does it have to do with AI illustrated Ryan Gosling Drive? She didn't write that. She has nothing to do with that. That has nothing to do with her. What the fuck is this? Next we have one that's been on my shelf and I just haven't picked it up because I kind of got it kind of around like right when it came out, but I was depressed then, so didn't read it. Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I'm so excited. I've heard nothing but good things about it. This is a bit from Goodreads, and it's the only thing I want to know about it going in at this point. Two warriors shepherd an ancient god across a broken land to end the tyrannical reign of a royal family. That's all I want to know about it going in. I don't want any preconceived ideas. That's all I want to know. I'm ready for it. Another one that it's been on my list for a while. It's been on my shelf for a while, but a friend and I talked about it, so I considered that his recommendation for this section. So They're There by Tommy Orange. It sounds so good and interesting, and I've never heard anyone say anything bad about it, and if I have, obviously they were probably wrong. Novel follows 12 characters from Native communities, all traveling to the big Oakland powwow, all connected to one another in ways they may not yet realize. Together, this chorus of voices tells the plight of the urban Native American, grappling with a complex and painful history, with an inheritance of beauty and spirituality, with communion and sacrifice and heroism. I already know this is going to be a book that sticks with me for a very long time, possibly forever. Well, as long as we're here. And I'm excited to finally get into it. And next was the one I threw in at the end, kind of as honestly, probably should have just added books to roll in that part and just put the one I was going to read at the beginning anyway. So one I chose from the books that were not rolled was a book I got from my grandma's. It is Persian Boy by Mary Renault, which is again, kind of revisionist history, more or less, in the vein of Song of Achilles, but it did Song of Achilles. It did what Song of Achilles did, but did it first. It is the story of Alexander the Great post his conquering of the Persian Empire, but told from courtier, whatever they're fucking called, eunuch Bagoas, who had originally served in the court of Darius III as his favorite. So it is very much a big, beautiful love story that's obviously going to end in tragedy, as we all know that how Alexander died. Also, not to be confused with Bagoas the Elder. Bagoas the Elder died, was actually like murdered before Alexander's conquering of the Persian Empire, and I believe had something to do with the death of Alexander's father, which is also interesting. I'm also interested to know how Mary writes Hephaestion in the book, because this book is very much Bagoas and Alexander are in so much love. They are so in love. They're in indescribable love. But that's kind of what Alexander and Hephaestion had. So, I don't know. I want to see how that plays out, how that works together. So, that's going to be really cool. I'm very glad that I just decided to put it on the list because I was really disappointed that I didn't roll it, basically. Next, we have Magician: Apprentice by Raymond E. Feist, which I've been reading for a while. It's one I find his writing is very, very engaging. I don't want to say simple or easy or any of those things, because that kind of sounds reductive, even though it's not necessarily meant to be. But it's a book I can put down and come back to 2 months later and not feel like I have to retrace my steps. You know, it's one that I find it easy to come back to. It's not overly dense, like either writing or subject wise, which I'm probably not explaining that right, but to the forest on the shore of the kingdom of the Isles, the orphan pug came to study with the master magician Colgan. His courage won him a place at court and the heart of a lovely princess, but he was ill at ease with normal wizardry. Yet his strange magic may save 2 worlds from dark beings who opened space-time to renew the age-old battle between order and chaos. So this is the first book of the Rift War saga by Raymond E. Feist, which I do have completed, which is a rare thing for books in this family. Next is a book, also a book from my grandma, but one that's been on my shelf for a while, because she had reread the entire series and was like, right, I've reread this enough times, pass it on. So Deathstalker by Simon R. Green, which I'm, like I've said before, I'm not super into sci-fi. My grandma loves sci-fi. I'm a fantasy bitch. So this is going to be fun, but it has like such a ragtag fantasy vibe to it but it's like in space. Owen Deathstalker, last of the infamous warrior clan, always considered himself more of a writer than a fighter, preferring his history books to making any actual history with a sword. But books won't protect him from her Imperial Majesty Lionstone the 14th, who just outlawed and condemned Owen to death without any explanation, reason, or warning. No wonder she's called the Iron Bitch. Absolutely fantastic. Everything about that is a delight to me. It's just a ragtag bunch of buds just going on an adventure to kill a woman. You know how it is. Next on the list is Margot's got money troubles, which has been on my TBR basically since it came out because wrestling. But I do want to read it before the show comes out, so I am glad I did roll it. So like I said, I'm so late to the game. It's struggling to make ends meet as a single mother after a brief affair with her college professor. Margot starts an OnlyFans. And when her estranged father decides to move in, mostly for her couch, but also to ostensibly help with childcare, he's also an ex-wrestler. I forgot that part because I didn't read very well. He begins to dispense wrestling wisdom to her that helps her excel at OnlyFans, which is such a fucking cool dynamic. It's such a fucking cool thing. I have feelings. If I do a video about it, I'll talk about it. But that's so fucking cool. I love wrestling so much. As you can see, I've got fucking China right there. You can't see her over here. But there's Nyla fucking Rose, who fucking rules. Next on the list we have Foreigner by C.J. Cherry. I think it's technically Cherry because I know her actual name is Cherry. And then she put an H on the end of it because her publisher thought it sounded too much like a romance author. It is a book series about spaceship heading out to build a great space station in the middle of nowhere and to further Earth's trade in the galaxy and whatnot and all of that. Gets stranded, breaks down, they fix it, they manage to get in orbit above a planet that is home to the Ateve, who have essentially technology-wise kind of like basically almost steampunk kind of. They're not as wholly advanced as us, and yet when the Earthlings decided to go down and try to colonize and make war with them, they lost so spectacularly and fast. And we're in the end of that fight, we're sort of relegated to a very secluded island where they're allowed to live there as long as they do not exit it, do not have any dealings with the Ateve at all, except for one point of contact who serves as a translator, a bureaucrat, somebody overseeing the transfer of technology to the Ateve. And then 2,000 years later or however long, we get to one of these diplomats, this one single point of contact between these two cultures. And we follow him, and it's a lot of political dealings. If you've never read anything by C.J. Cherry, she has a very dry writing style that works very well for me. Very, very anthropological, very matter of fact, very interesting. Very interested to finally read it. Also, I want to show you something really quick. In all of this, my grandma bequeathed me her collection of foreigner books, which is not complete. We don't have the first one, but I do want to show you something. Here we have the fifth one. I don't remember right off. Precursor of the series. And something none of us noticed for a very long time. Next, we have Wayfarer Redemption by Sarah Douglas, which I read as a kid and I really loved. And now I have the complete series or both trilogies, depending on how you slice it, because the first trilogy it frames the first book like it's about Faraday. One young woman, Faraday, betrothed to Duke Bornheld, discovers that all she has been taught about her people's history is untrue. Now she must fight oppressive forces until everyone knows the truth of the Stargate. Not related to Stargate the show. It's actually mostly about Axis, who is the brother of Bornheld. But it also, when I grabbed it again, I was so surprised that it was Bornheld because I swear to God it was Bernhold, basically. But Bornheld's brother Axis, who is the Battle Axe, which was the actual name of the first book. And this first trilogy is called the Axis Trilogy. And the next trilogy was actually called Wayfarer Redemption, but it's about Axis's son, who is not, I believe, the son of Faraday, but the son of Azure, who's one of the other races of the planet that Axis is supposed to be the Starman and prophesized to, bring back together and rule over. I don't know if it's going to hold up to what I thought, especially like looking at it again. It's like, oh, this is not actually about Faraday so much as it's about Faraday. Like, it's about Axis by way of Faraday. How's that? Next, we have Mastodon by Steve Stredd, which, as I understand it, is a splatterpunk horror, splatterpunk wilderness survival horror. It's been in my Kindle library for forever. I bought it once. I don't remember why. I think somebody recommended it. By, what did I say? Steve Stredd? 17 years ago, Tyler Barton was born in the Rocky Mountains while his parents were on a hike. On that day, his mother disappeared, never to be seen again. On the 17th anniversary of her disappearance, Tyler's father is flying home when the plane he's on disappears in the same area where his mother disappeared all those years ago. Undeterred by officials, Tyler decides to hike into the area in search of his father, hoping to find him alive and bring him to safety. But there's a reason that area is prohibited to enter. So, whatever that means. Next, we have our first pull from a hat. I pulled Pop Science. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of Tiny Bookshop. Thanks. I hate it. I'm not happy about it, but I will stick to it. God damn it. Next, we also have another pull from a hat, and this time I pulled Legend by David Gemmell, which is, as I understand it, a classic of like sword and board kind of Conan the Barbarian style of fantasy. The legendary warrior is pulled out of retirement and seclusion from his mountain hermitage with his snow leopard friends to come back to the world and save them all from roving barbarian hordes and inspire a new generation of heroes. Next, we have An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. In this brutal world inspired by ancient Rome, Layla lives with her grandparents and older brother. The family ekes out an existence in the Empire's impoverished back streets. They do not challenge the Empire. They have seen what happens to those who do. But when Layla's brother is arrested for treason, Leia. There's no extra L in her name. Damn it, I'm so sorry. Leia is forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them from within the Empire's greatest military academy. And that's all I want to know going into it. Next, mandatory book I have started reading, and it is so gorgeous. I'm so delighted with it. So I'm really excited to dig back into it. It's a karma-based magic system, and it's rad as hell. It's really cool. The world is governed by tyrannic law, an ancient magical force that segregates people into upper and lower realms based on their morality, which is already so fucked up. Because, like, how can a baby have low enough morality to be forced to live in this horrible, I'm sure it'll be answered in the fucking book. It is said that if the sinful lowers commit themselves to kindness, their souls will lighten, allowing them into the blissful upper realms. Ina, one of the few lowers to ever ascend, just wants to go back, desperate to reunite with her mother, who remains stuck in their horror-infested homeland. Ina joins the Balancers, a group that defies tyrannic law by bringing aid to those condemned to a life of suffering in the lower realms. Alongside her are Aranel, a spoiled noble spying for the upper authorities, and Maizan, a ruthless fighter trying to save his clan from extinction. Sounds cool. We have a pull from a hat on this first one here, and it was a choice from the library new fiction, specifically releases. Sorry, I didn't mean to click the giant safety pin. Do I know where I got it? No. I don't know why I have it either, but I do. Next we have What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu, who by age 30, Stephanie Fu was successful on paper. She had her dream job as an award-winning radio producer at This American Life and a loving boyfriend. But behind her office door, she was having panic attacks and sobbing at her desk every morning. Sobbing at her desk every morning. I'm so sorry. After years of questioning what was wrong with her, she was diagnosed with complex PTSD, a condition that occurs when trauma happens continuously over the course of years. This is one, like, not a looking forward to, not excited about, but want to read. A memoir of Stephanie's as somebody realizing far later in life that, yeah, you got PTSD, but you got the weird kind that nobody really understands, despite the fact that it manifests as fairly normal symptoms of PTSD. It's just that it happens with continued microaggressions over an extended period of time. So there's a lot of people that also suffer from this horrible thing that don't realize it, because Jesus fucking Christ, the way it just ravages your brain and in your life. And then nobody fucking knows how to properly treat it or help with it. So it's gonna be nice, isn't the right word, interesting, I suppose, to read about this from the point of view of somebody actually diagnosed, rather than just a doctor talking about it, you know? So, on the list. And once again, much like with Wounded Knee, excited's not the right word, but I very much do want to read this and to finally read a book also about complex PTSD from somebody who has it, rather than people who study it specifically. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to fuck me up. Next, we have Grunts by Mary Gentle, which is like if Lord of the Rings was Warhammer, as I understand it. The usual last battle of good and evil is about to begin, and Orc Captain Ashnak and his war band know exactly what to expect. The forces of light are outnumbered, full of headstrong heroes devoid of tactics, but the light's still going to win. Orcs will die by the thousands and no one cares. Not even the nameless necromancer who hired them. As I understand it, it is a satire, a parody that asks, what if the orcs on the march to the Battle of the Pelennor Fields happened upon a cache of U.S. military grade weapons and then went into battle as a sort of paramilitary force and highly effective to boot. So that's going to be goofy and fun. Next is The Summer Tree by Guy Gabriel Kay. This is a book that stolen from my grandma. It's one I've intended to read, but also kind of put off. It is Guy Gabriel Kay, brilliant writer, brilliant historical fantasy writer. Highly suggest The Lions of Al-Rasan if you want to feel something, anything, you know? The Summer Tree is, I believe, his first published novel. Also, Guy Gabriel Kay helped Christopher Tolkien edit and compile like everything from Tolkien's like writings for the Silmarillion. So that's really cool and interesting, just in case you wondered. Where was I? Oh, it's about like 5 students go to a lecture, 5 University of Toronto students. And then after that, the lecturer turns out to be a wizard from a different realm. And he's like, come back with me. And they're like, cool. And they do it. And then they find themselves in like this first world, this world where these myths and stories don't just affect the myths and stories of other worlds, but affect what happens in those other worlds, which is really cool and interesting. There's one thing about Guy Gabriel, okay? Well, there's a couple things about Guy Gabriel, okay? He did fall into the trap of, you know what's shocking and horrible? Let's have a woman just get randomly, brutally raped. So that's how this book ends before it moves on to the rest of the trilogy. And I've known about the scene for a while and just haven't put much stock into finding out which book it is. And then I was like, oh, it's this book. So not looking forward to it. I don't know. It's largely considered pretty weak as far as his books go, which I get. It's his first book, but at least I have forewarning. Like I didn't go into it not knowing that that was going to happen. So at least I'm prepared, but Jesus, not looking forward to it because as I understand it, it is brutal and unnecessary. Next is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. 7 years ago, the Atargatis set off on a voyage to the Mariana Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legend. The Meg. It's not. I think it's sirens. It was lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax. Others have called it a maritime tragedy. Now, a new crew has been assembled. But this time, they're not out to entertain. Some seek to validate their life's work. Some seek the greatest hunt of all. Some seek the truth. But for the ambitious young scientist Victoria Stewart, this is a voyage to uncover the fate of her sister she lost. Of the sister she lost. Everyone says it's a really good, creepy story, so I'm in the mood for a good horror. It's been, once again, in my Kindle library for so fucking long. I just don't like reading on my phone. It's a real struggle. Next we have from the recommendations was a recommendation from my Uncle Mike, who suggested The Last Cattle Drive by Robert Day, which I would not have ever put on my list, I don't think. But it's a Kansas story from a Kansas writer. Also, from like learning about it and knowing now like the disastrous history of trying to turn it into a movie, you can kind of see like some of the threads from like City Slickers in it. So that's really cool. Well, you can see some of the threads of it in City Slickers. It's the other way around, but it's a crotchety old rancher from like Hays, Kansas, which is the middle of fuck ass nowhere. If you're from Kansas, like I am, fuck ass nowhere. And he decides, it also takes place in like the 70s, I'm pretty sure. It's also written in the 70s. It's whatever. He wants to drive his 250 head of cattle the normal way because he's fed up with trucking prices all the way 300 so miles to stockyards of Kansas City against like modern obstacles and backwoods shenanigans and some real like dust ups, you know? And it just sounds goofy. So I'm really interested to see how and if it will interrogate the romanticization of like the Old West, this heyday of cattle rustling and ranching and all of that, because it lasted like what, 4 years? Here's a thing that I would love to read, speculative like history whatever of a future had nobody ever invented barbed wire. I think that would be really cool and interesting. Love to read it. So anyway, I've also heard this is a spectacularly funny book. So that's going to be fun and interesting. And like Kansas, like it's a guy basically following what is now I-70, arguably the worst parts of Kansas. Like, if you've been through Kansas and you thought it's ugly, I can guarantee you, you're either in southwestern Kansas or you've been on I-70. That's kind of like, yeah, Kansas is beautiful, except for those two parts. Next on my list is the one I threw in at the end because I was disappointed I didn't roll it, is Armed Struggle by Richard English. Because I have wanted to read something like a book about the Troubles, Northern Ireland, for a while. And so I was like, what is objectively the best book to read? And a lot of people suggested Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe. I do want to read his book on the Sattler family and the empire of drugs, because as an American, I'm pretty sure he is a little less biased in that one. Yeah, because as you can tell, I put this book instead of that one because largely from what I can tell in reviews from people who actually lived through the Troubles, actually from Northern Ireland, actually involved in the IRA and these horrible events, it's deeply, deeply, horrifically biased in a very disparaging and disrespectful way. Not necessarily that I understand it like pro Thatcher, but definitely anti IRA. And there's so fucking much nuance to that situation that I got very offended. I was like, you guys fell into the trap of good writing, but idiot researching. So at the very least, from the way I understand it, very matter of fact of the actual events. It's truth over style. And what biases there are that he possesses are actually interrogated. They're not just ignored. So at the very least, it's less biased. It's a less American take on what actually happened, what led to it, the consequences of it, and the people who lived through it. More human. There we go. Not just sensationalized. Next on my list is a book I have been also reading for a while. And also similarly to Magician, it's an easy book to come back to. It's just, well, it's not as easy. A little more complicated because riddles. The Riddle Master of Head by Patricia McKillop. It's delightful. The writing is so engaging. Like, I kind of picked it up on a whim one time, and it just sucked me in immediately within the first couple paragraphs. Like, it just is very engaging and delightful. So I'm very excited I keep saying excited. Anyway, long ago, the wizards had vanished from the world, and all knowledge was left hidden in riddles. Morgan, prince of the simple farmers of Head, proved himself a master of such riddles when he staked his life to win a crown from the dead Lord of Alm. But now ancient, evil forces are threatening him. Shape changers began replacing friends until no man could be trusted. So Morgan was forced to flee to the hostile kingdoms, seeking the High One who ruled from mysterious Erlendstar Mountain. Beside him went Death, the High One's harper. Ahead lay strange encounters, terrifying adventures, and with him always was the greatest of unsolved riddles, the nature of the 3 stars on his forehead that seemed to drive him toward his ultimate destiny. It's a delightful fucking book. I think he dies in the 3rd book because it's a trilogy. Pretty sure he dies. I think I got spoiled about that. Yes. I couldn't find where I was on the board. I pulled from the hat, and for some fucking reason, I decided to put in celebrity written fiction. Yay! Next, we have The Strength of the Few. I'm not going to fucking talk about this book. That is one of the darlings of the moment. Everyone knows about it. If you don't know about it, you do know about it. Sequel to The Will of the Many, which fucking ruled, but it's such a boy book. But it did make me feel like I could rip apart a phone book or something. Next, we have The Reformatory by Tanner Dew, which is a horror, historical horror. 12-year-old Robert is sent to Gracetown School for Boys after a tussle with a little shit-ass, this is my editorializing from the summary, a little shit-ass white kid who made advances on Robert's sister, Gloria. There, between severe beatings and torture, he is tasked with finding and capturing haints, ghosts of children brutally murdered at the reformatory. This is a book loosely inspired by the atrocities committed at the Dozier, the Dozier School for Boys, which is a reformatory school in Florida where a great number of children were tortured, beaten, assaulted, murdered, burnt alive. Just untold horrors that went unpunished, unspoken for, uninvestigated for fucking decades. Truly heinous. It's truly fucking despicable. Not excited to read it, but I want to read it. It's another one of those. Pull from a hat, and I pulled book I didn't originally roll. Which honestly, if I hadn't pulled that from a hat, I still would have picked it up because I really want to read it. Sting of the Wild by Justin O. Schmidt. You know the Schmidt Insect Sting Pain Index? That guy. I kind of didn't realize he had a book until after Sawbones' episode on him, which is so funny. This motherfucker is insane. I'm not going to tell you much about the book because it's kind of just the story of how he conceptualized and then tested all of these things and like compiled this list. So I'm going to tell you like some of the ratings he gave a couple of bugs here. It's a scale of 1 to 4, that's my favorite part of the Sawbones episode was like Justin being like, it's like, yeah, you said it was like the worst you've ever felt. Like you made the scale. You could have scored it a 5. Hilarious. Western Honeybee is a 2 on the scale. Burning, corrosive, but you can handle it. A flaming match head lands on your arm and is quenched with lye and then sulfuric acid. The tarantula hawk wasp is a 4, obviously. Blinding, fierce, shockingly electric. A running hairdryer has just been dropped into your bubble bath. The warrior wasp, also a 4, torture. You are chained in the flow of an active volcano. Why did I start this list? My fucking man. Love him. Absolutely insane. Truly insane. I want to read this book so bad. Next we have The King's Assassin by Benjamin Woolley. You know that like Mary and George miniseries where Julianne Moore has like a really annoyed, pinched, scared face the entire time, and her son Nicholas fucks Tony Curran really hard. That's what it's about. It's about George Villiers, who is the favorite of King George, and then eventually, after many years of fucking and sucking the whole while, he killed King George. Yeah, that's about all that is. It's just, I've had it for a while. Next on the list was a recommendation. Okay, so I had a professional development / just hang out with a coworker, and we were talking about books because it turns out I can really railroad a conversation about the things that I'm interested in. And I tried really hard not to, but it did end up happening just a little bit. But she really loved this book series. And I was like, hey, that's really interesting. I'll add that to my list. I'll look out for it. And then I was at my grandma's and I picked up a book. I was like, I recognize that name. This is The Song Rising by Samantha Shannon, which is the third book in the Bone Season series. And mostly I took it because my grandma did not like it. So it was just sort of like, I'll take it off your shelves. But it also, the third book, so maybe she would like it if she read the other ones. But as I also understand it, they have been rewritten sort of as she's eventually going to be writing more books. So I was like, I've seen the sign. The universe is telling me something. I'll put it on the list. I don't know what it's about. And I refuse to learn until I read it. So it's on the list. Next is a book I was very annoyed that I didn't roll. It is Souls in the Great Machine by Sean McMullen. The great calculator of Libris was forced to watch as Overmare Zarvora, had 4 of its components lined up against a wall and shot for negligence. Thereafter, its calculations were free from errors, and that was just as well, for only the strangest of calculating machines and its 2,000 enslaved components could save the world from a new ice age. So this is a first book in the Great Winter Trilogy by Sean McMullen, and Grandma had the second book, and I was like, this sounds really interesting. I wonder what the rest of them are about. And then I discovered the third book. This is a world, post-apocalyptic world without technology. They've regressed to the point of just like a refusal to use technology, but they still need to compute things. So they have a computer that is entirely made up of human people. That's really cool. I'm so interested in that. Want more of that. So I really want to read it. But then I had discovered that the third book in the trilogy is a component of this computer, like not just having a, like escaping this horrible place and learning how to be a person, but having this sort of like this trans journey, which is so cool and interesting. And I'm just so, I want to read that so bad, but I have to read the other 2 first. Because I'm fucking there. I'm there so hard. We're in the home stretch. We're on the last section. And I somehow have not technically been talking about this for an hour yet. Holy shit. Next we have Lapvona by Otessa Moshfegh. This I have been reading for a while, and I just hate reading on my phone because it's another book I have on Kindle. In Lapvona, a corrupt medieval fiefdom, deformed 13-year-old Merrick lives with his cruel shepherd father, Jude, and was nursed from birth by the village alchemist. When Merrick commits a crime, the cruel Lord William demands that Jude give Merrick to him as reparations, and Merrick goes to live in his castle. Now suddenly thrust into noble life, Merrick is caught in a deathly power struggle of corruption and debauchery. And is it debauched? Is it depraved? Disgusting. The vibes, immaculate. Rancid, but immaculate. So, I'm gonna finish that one finally. I swear to fucking Christ. Next we have on the list, The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodges. I don't know anything about it. Basically, I also trust Lexi, what the fuck is her name? Newly Nova, with my TBR. She said it was great. Just go fucking into it with as little knowledge as possible. And I'm like, I can do that. So I'm going to do that. Next on the list was another one that was newly, well, not really so newly. Basically, I read The Six Deaths of the Saint like 3 months before The Everlasting was coming out. So I was very much late to the game. I'd never read anything by Alex E. Harrow before. That novella changed my brain chemistry. It fixed something in me and broke something else. It's beautiful, and it is also the darling of the moment. You know what it's about. I don't need to tell you. You know exactly what I'm getting into. I'm just going to be late to it. These are not going to be read in order. I guarantee it. Next was a pull from the hat, and I pulled choice from the library new nonfiction section because I feel like I love nonfiction, but I specifically memoirs and like comedy. A comedian wrote a memoir. You bet your ass I'm there. But I need to read more, so that's why I made a concerted effort to add them. Next is Queen of Angels by Greg Bear, another book for my grandma. That sounded fucking wild. Like I said, I'm not super into sci-fi, but I feel like I should be. Like, I feel like I would like it if I gave it more of a chance. But also, Greg Bear, as I understand it, likes to interrogate really deep mathematical and scientific ideas. So I'm fully prepared to be called a fucking idiot by this book. In a distant future, nanotechnology has revolutionized therapy and psychology, creating a population of therapied people who are capable of hard work and constructive social interaction, making crime almost unheard of until a renowned poet commits a series of violent murders. So as I understand it, the book is told from multiple storylines, one being a nanotech augmented police detective, an untherapied writer, and friend of the poet who's sort of going through the seedy underbelly of people sort of not forgotten by these systems set in place by an overarching government. A disgraced psychotherapist planning to enter into and directly interact with the poet's mind, and two twin AIs achieving self-awareness at the same time, but on opposite ends of the galaxy and entirely different technological purposes. So, and my pull from a hat next here was just a library new fiction release. Next on the recommendations was A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk. A young baronet, Robin Blythe, thought he was taking up a minor governmental post. However, he's actually been appointed parliamentary liaison to a secret magical society. If it weren't for this administrative error, he'd have never discovered the incredible magic underlying his world. Cursed by mysterious attackers and plagued by visions, Robin becomes determined to drag answers from his missing predecessor. But he'll need the help of Edwin Corsi to his hostile magical society counterpart. Unwillingly thrown together, Robin and Edwin will discover a plot that threatens every magician in the British Isles. It sounds really cute, so I'm very excited to read that. That was from a suggestion from one of my D&D players who's eventually going to fight these horrible beasties. Next was a pull from the hat, and it was another new library new release fiction. New release. I'm gonna be set. Like, all in all, I did have fun, like, drawing everything. I was high as shit when I was doing it, but it was fun. And last but not least, Jade City by Fonda Lee. I know very little about it. I know it's like magic mafia-ness. The Call family is one of two crime syndicates that control the Isle of Kikon. It's the only place in the world that produces rare, magical jade, which grants those with the right training and heritage superhuman abilities. The Greenbone clans of honorable jade-wearing warriors once protected the island from foreign invasion, but nowadays, in a bustling post-war metropolis full of fast cars and foreign money, Greenbone families like the Calls are primarily involved in commerce, construction, and everyday upkeep of the districts under their protection. Which sounds really cool. When the simmering tension between the Calls and their greatest rivals erupts into open violence in the streets, the outcome of this clan war will determine the fate of all green bones and the future of Kikon itself. That sounds really fucking cool. I'm really tired. I did a lot of talking. I didn't sleep very much last night because I'm very much worried about my cats. So, thank you for being here. If you made it to the end of this, thank you. I love you. You're fantastic. That's all I have. I'm completely run dry. This was annoying. This giant safety pin was really annoying. And I don't know why I had it, but I'm loath to relinquish it. I'm loath to put it back in the closet. I'm really glad that my upstairs neighbors made it home after the snowstorm last night and didn't die and are able to, piss. So if you heard the toilet flushing, and if you didn't, that was an out-of-pocket comment. So I'm doing so great. Peace. Anyway, thank you for being here. I hope you appreciated all the work that I put into this and this slightly new. What are the words I need? Oh, shit. I'm good. I'm cool. I'm fine.